Hey, I've got great news! No animals were harmed during the making of A Dog's Purpose. See, there was a message during the credits. It was so important I took a picture of it so you could see as well. In A Dog's Purpose, Josh Gad voices a dog who over multiple decades and multiple reincarnated lives ponders his own existence and the meaning and purpose of his life. If that synopsis sounds amazing to you and you like the trailer, you'll love this movie. For the rest of mankind, this is kind of a weird film to exist. The best comparison I have for this film, and it's not a good comparison, is the movie Forrest Gump. Weird comparison, but in Forrest Gump, you have a man who's mentally handicapped who goes through the life and experiences of a baby boomer and sees all of the big major events of multiple decades through his simple mind and his understanding and interpretation of what happened. There's not like necessarily a central specific conflict that he overcomes over the span of the movie. It's one person observing the world around them and their take on what happened. Now, why that's a good comparison for A Dog's Purpose is that's essentially what happens in this movie with a dog who has multiple different owners over multiple different decades, through multiple different cultures, and observes what's kind of transpiring throughout all of this. It's not necessarily one specific story that's being overcome. It's observing time and different people and relationships through this perspective of a dog. Now, from the get-go, you just have to know this movie's either for you or it's not for you. You will hate this movie if you're not a dog lover. You will hate this movie if you don't want to watch dogs die on screen. But if you go into the movie okay with the fact that these dogs are going to die, it's going to be sad, and sometimes my wife says, I just need to have a good cry today. I need to watch a movie that'll make me cry. This is a movie that would make her cry and might be perfect for that situation. But you have to know that's what this movie is when you go into it. Otherwise, you will hate this movie. And that's somewhat what makes this movie kind of interesting, is that it's less about story and it's much more about the experience of the relationship between dogs and their owners and the experiences that they have between them, and kind of a, not even really a celebration, but an exploration of just kind of the interesting nature of it. Throughout the film, the basic theme of it is loneliness and companionship. And so as you're watching the film, it kind of explores the types of people that are drawn to being dog owners, the role of a dog in their life, and how that shifts throughout time. And so there's some interesting sorts of ideas being explored in this movie. Now, let's be clear, this is not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it does effectively draw the emotions out of you that it's supposed to draw out of you. And we have to be completely honest in this review. I don't know why we said we, because I'm the only one talking, but yeah, I started crying during the movie. I'm not saying that as some sort of, I'm so manly I can admit that I cried. No, I've put a dog down. I've watched my dog, the dog that my wife and I got. We first got married, we put him down 1.5 years ago and watched kind of the sickness that as it kind of transpired. The way this movie unfolds and the way some of the dogs, they die and things like that happen in the movie, it's like it happens in real life.
Dad,
and it's really...
I have to tell you something. We got coffee for you.
Oh, you got coffee for me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, buddy. I'm almost finished filming. If you can close
Yeah.
All right, I'll catch you in just a minute. I'll be right down. It's not that the movie was so powerful or that anything is a statement about me. It was a very emotional thing for me to put the dog down, so then when you're observing something that is very real to you that you've experienced, it draws that emotion out of you. And so that's what this movie does a lot of, and it has many different stories of different dogs, because lots of dogs die in this movie, and so it draws a lot of sadness out of you, especially when kind of the tone of the movie is this melancholy exploration of loneliness and the role of animals in people's lives. And for what it's going for, it does a pretty good job at it. It doesn't do a great job at it, but pretty good job. So as I was watching the movie, the first 10 minutes or so, I was thinking, I'm gonna hate this movie. This is not clicking. I'm just watching a cute dog run around. If I want to do that, I'll go home, play with my dogs in the backyard. And so it wasn't really clicking with me. And once it switches from like the little kid at the beginning of the movie to a teenager, the story starts to kick in with some of the adults, and it starts to play out a little bit better, where you can resonate with it a lot better. And then likewise, when it switches to some of the other lives, you have a story that you can engage with and see this little vignette of life. It works a little bit better, but even still along the way, it doesn't work necessarily great, as there's a lot of recurring themes in what the dog says, experiences, because it's not like the dog can have great insights into the being while being a dog that's trying to talk like a dog. Likewise, I was pretty unclear on exactly the target audience for the movie, as it has like kind of a juvenile sense of humor, but I can't imagine taking like an 8-year-old to this movie because it would be traumatizing. Like, I was traumatized by Old Yeller, and this is just dogs dying after dogs dying, because there's more dogs in the movie than just the main dog, and not all of them make it out of the movie, since the movie spans like 50 years. So overall, it was a little bit unclear, and likewise, that the juvenile humor, it didn't work for me almost at all. There's like a dead cat joke in it, and a couple jokes in it that worked for me, and I heard some lady in the back laughing really loud at some stuff, and I was going, that's not funny. Like, these lines aren't funny. Just having a dog make a very simplistic interpretation of what a human's doing isn't inherently funny. You have to say something clever for it to be funny. Overall, like I said, this movie's good enough. It is not great, and it's a movie for a very narrow group of people. With all that said, I would say I enjoyed the movie once it got started, once it got going. I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. If you saw the trailer and you're interested in it, it will provide a good enough movie for what you're wanting, but it would probably be better if you rented it on Redbox rather than rushing out to the theater. With all that said, likewise, if you saw the trailer and, oh man, I don't know that I want to watch a movie where a dog dies, I don't want to be crying in the theater, skip this movie. It very much, if we're going to put hashtag trigger warnings in here, if you've ever put a dog down, you'll be triggered by this movie, and there's no safe spaces in the theater. It was pretty awkward to be a grown man sitting by himself watching a movie about dogs, crying a little bit during parts of it. That's a little awkward moment in your life. But if I'm being honest, I did enjoy the movie overall. I don't think I'll ever watch it again, but if you're the right demographic, in the right setting, it's a good enough time. How about you? Have you seen A Dog's Purpose? What did you think about it? Or did you just want to avoid this movie like a plague because you don't want to watch a movie where dogs die? Because I know I normally don't do that. Like, I went in watching this as homework for this YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, please consider clicking that subscribe button. During the work week, I have a daily movie news roundup where I talk about, well, the daily movie news. I also do 3 or 4 movie reviews per week and a live show on Sundays where I go live with you guys and can answer your questions in the chat board. It's a lot of fun. And as always, thank you for watching.